So I can tell you this takes less than 5 minutes, in case you're wondering. My book, Taking in Water, is set in Yorkshire and in New York. It travels in time between 2002 and the 1950s and 60s. 2002 means that it's almost 50 years since the sea smashed through Lydia's grandmother's front door and swept away her family, leaving her with a terrible secret. Now she lives alone in a remote cottage on the coast. She's an artist, and as the book starts, significant objects have begun to wash up on the shore nearby. So this is how the book starts with Lydia. "It's the gate," Lydia said out loud, relieved to have identified the source of the noise. How come it was open? She could have sworn she'd locked it. She removed her eye mask, and as the lighthouse beam passed over the window, she checked her clock. 2 a.m. The banging gate meant a storm on its way. She'd have to shut it. Couldn't afford a sleepless night, not if she was to get on with her search before high tide tomorrow. Wide awake now, she was alert to every sound. The gale coming in off the sea plucked at the roof timbers, a creaking above her that snatched the years away. Each gust pitching her back to Grandma's house until she's 7 again, peeping through the letterbox, watching the sea swallow the road, spray leaping above the gate, and wondering how a gate could ever keep out the waves. Pulling the duvet over her head to deaden the sound, she shut her eyes and called up the wreck. It was the only way to stop images of that night filling her head. No bodies, no funerals. She'd made herself imagine the wreck because she couldn't bear to think of her family forever drifting and pulled by the currents. There's no wind, no rain, no weather at all on the bottom of the sea, and she liked to think of them, serene on the sea floor, gazing through swishing curtains of fish. Her wreck is rusted, encrusted with barnacles, but it's solid, bedded in the soft sand of Dogger Bank, out there where the sea is shallow. Luke was the only person she ever told about her ghostly wreck. Telling him her fantasy led to the art they'd made and a different kind of storm. She'd never managed to tell anyone about the other images that lived in her head. Images of that night that she didn't make up, that had taken years to surface, and that she didn't want to invade her right now. Her father climbing on the table, prodding the ceiling with a poker. Her looking down on Grandma's sitting room as the sea rushes in to grab an armchair. The table's floating like a boat. Everything's floating. Grandma's spectacle case, Father's trilby, the doll's arm. Images that flickered like stills from a film out of order until she had to hum that tune, that silly hymn. Otherwise, the images might splice together, speed up towards the last frame. She didn't dare on the whole film. Not yet. If she could make this new work, maybe then she could finally admit what happened that night. A drumming on the skylight cut in and told her the downpour had arrived. She'd have to tog up if she was going to fix the gate. Here, she was hundreds of feet above the shore. No chance of any waves forcing themselves through her gate, however big the storm. And a storm meant more stuff was being washed up at Slayton. There'd be plenty to find after a night like this. Downstairs, she pulled on her fleece and a waterproof, stuffed her feet into cold wellies. Torch, torch, she muttered to herself, and then remembered. Bugger, it's in the studio. Well, the lighthouse beam would have to do. If she didn't get out there soon, that gate would be off its hinges.